Hello, this is Guy from My Real Estate Advisor doing the number two in the podcast. I'm here now with a buyer's agent. Please introduce yourself, mate, and your business.
Morning, Guy. My name is Abdul Ozturk. I'm from Bestta Signature Property Buyers. How are you?
Thanks. I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's the second one I've done now, so this is exciting. I've got quite a few people lined up to do these, so I thought it'd be a good way to get to know the person a bit more and also find out a bit more about the business and that kind of thing. Yeah, so it should be good. I'll rattle through the questions, mate, and then yeah, we can have a bit of a chat and see how we go. So yeah,
Perfect.
so first of all, I wanted to kick off with the brand and your background. So can you tell us a bit more about your journey and what's led you into real estate?
What led me into real estate was I used to own property in Melbourne. This is before I moved to Brisbane,
Yeah.
Queensland, and I never thought I'd have a career in real estate. But when the moment came for me is I sold my family home and.
Yeah.
That was during COVID lockdown. It was one of those snap lockdowns, and
Oh yeah.
the auctioneer called me. He said, the house was on the market for a while, so the auctioneer called me. He said, Abdul, I won't be able to get you a dollar over 470. But just be prepared for that. I said, look, that's okay. Everything was getting dissolved anyway. I thought whatever gets sold for, it gets sold for.
Yeah.
And when he called me up, he said I sold it for 535, and I was just like, wow. And that was with
Oh yeah.
Harcourt's brand in Melbourne.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like over the moon after that. Like I just absolutely like and even with building, like I built with Metricon and then I bought an investment property.
Mm.
So negotiating contracts, making sure like whatever they said I got in the contract. So making those fine details. I had a little bit of knack for it since then.
Yeah, I
But
see.
my background is actually I'm a truck driver by profession,
Mm.
and I always knew there was going to be a time after. Like I always knew it's going to come to an end one way or another, but I just didn't
Yeah.
know when and how. And I
Right.
just wanted to pick, yeah, and I just wanted to pick something that I really enjoy, and I had I had a lot of time to think to myself, what am I good at? What would I really enjoy? What would I wake up in the morning actually enjoy coming to work? And
Yeah.
and one of those things were a real estate, like the feeling that I got when I was building my first home and then the second home and
Mm.
then learning strategies like tax strategies. So those are the things that I really took a passion in. So I thought if there's going to be a career after trucking, I thought
Yeah.
real estate is going to be the way to go because you want to come to work and you want to enjoy what you do, not just make money.
Yeah.
Um, and
Exactly.
because like learning those things along the way, I thought to myself I can actually help people as well, like in their property purchasing journey.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
it's sort of one of those things where you kind of you went through the experience a bit for yourself, and then it's something that appealed to you, and you wanted to come out of one industry and go into another, but you weren't sure until you had that experience, and then you thought, oh, I actually really enjoy that. I find that
that's
interesting. I
that's
want
that's
to do that.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep,
Ah, that's
that's
cool.
exactly right.
All right, great stuff. Well, so the next question is, what is your core philosophy and approach when it that defines you when you're working with your clients?
My core philosophy will be the value they're getting for their money. So I don't want to
Okay.
be like known as a buyer's agent that just, signing up the clients left, right, and center, but I want to work on value. So when people ask that client, for example, what did what kind of value did your buyer's agents bring you? So as a buyer's agent, I've so far learned like we're there to solve problems for people. What kind of
Yeah.
problems have I been able to solve for my clients? like yeah, my philosophy would be value. And the
Yeah.
one thing I really wanted to focus in my career is negotiation. Make
Mm.
sure they are getting what in their contract what they really need
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I
in
know what you
terms
mean.
of
Like,
what they're being promised.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm with you. Okay, cool. What I'll do as well, I'll do a bit of a screen share for your website as well, so we can get that going in the background, so people know where to find you and all that kind of thing, because your contact details will be on there. So we'll do share that as well.
that'll be
So
good.
there we go. So this is Abdul's website. Um, is this a relatively new site that you've just had done, or have you had this for a while now?
Look, I had this for a while, but we kept it upgrading. So we
Mm.
just
Okay.
changed content as we move forward.
Yeah, I'm
We've
with you.
tried some genetic content, and then we moved to and we just decided to just keep upgrading.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm with you.
that's the latest one.
Yeah, I have that with people with my website. They always do the same thing, said, "Oh, this isn't quite right," or whatever. And yeah, and to be honest, like with a website, you never really finish. You're always adding or taking away or improving something. I mean, it can come right down to a spelling mistake on a page that you don't even go on. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, and then you go, "Oh, there's a mistake in there," you know, and it gets somebody who's a bit pedantic to notice it, and then you go, "Oh yeah, I hope that hasn't been sitting there for 6 months." But yeah, but no, this looks really professional, really well done. So this is a
Thank
nice
you.
website, it's nice and easy to flow and straightforward and everything. It's nice, it's good. So I'll continue on with the questions as well. So let's have a quick go. So next question is. What do you think sets you apart in the local market? So that's the next
Um,
question.
Look, that'll be expertise. So what I want to focus on, say, so with what I want to service is I want to be a state specialist rather than focus on one area.
Okay.
Um, so um,
So you're looking at Queensland is on your website, it's all Queensland predominantly
yeah,
where
that's
you're
right.
doing
And
business.
and and what the reason why I say that is, say, like I want to focus on generating as much as interest as I can, and say if there's a point where I come to and I can't service those clients, I want to be able to collaborate with other buyers agents.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I really do enjoy working with other people. Like it'll be absolutely awesome where I set up a deal in, let's say, Townsville, and I go there
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, take the family up and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a good
research
idea.
the yeah,
Get
research
a
the
bit of a
area.
holiday.
Correct. Research the area, working with the local BA, and then
Yeah.
you're like, look, I've got a deal that's set up. It's coming your way. Let's get together and close this deal together.
Yeah.
Money side of things, like money is not the most important factor. But that adrenaline of working together with other people and you know
Yeah. I
and
think I think if you're used to working on your own a lot of the time, I think you do need to branch out and work with other people as well. I think because you could be a bit
that's right.
isolating otherwise.
Yep,
So I
yep.
think you're right. I think that's good to collaborate with other people and stuff like that. But go on, mate. Sorry,
Correct.
what were you going to say?
Yeah, like that's what I was going to say. Like just the adrenaline part of just working with other people. Like we've
Yeah.
worked together before, so yeah,
But,
the collaborating part I think would be most
mm,
awesome.
I think they're putting deals together with people and helping each other and getting stuff over the line and helping your clients. I think that's all that's all part of it really. And as I say, otherwise it's a bit of a lonely career, to be honest.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, you're best off working with a team. Like, we with my business, and especially like I network with people all over the country, like yourself. So like we'll
Yeah,
come up with against somebody who needs a buyer's agent, I can recommend I can recommend somebody local or somebody like yourself that may be able to cover the whole of Queensland, maybe. I don't know. So yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, an interesting thing. And as I say, that makes your business a bit more flexible as well, where you are prepared to go to different locations and
Yes.
hopefully get a holiday at the same time. Who knows? That'll be good.
Well, being
Um,
a truck driver, so I've driven regional
yeah,
places, and I've really enjoyed getting out there. The furthest I
yeah,
went to was Cairns, and I absolutely enjoyed like driving there and back. And
mm,
like I could see myself like running across the country and setting up deals left, right, and center. And
yeah,
I thought, I'd really enjoy like if closing this deal in Cairns, for example, like that'd be
yeah,
absolutely awesome.
yeah. I know, I understand that because I've done a bit of that myself over the years where I've, flown down to Melbourne to meet developers and I've flown to Perth and all sorts of different places over the years, try and do business with different companies and different developers and stuff. And
Yeah,
there's a bit of excitement when you go into somewhere that isn't your own backyard and you're trying to do business there as well. Like, and if you've not done
exactly.
that before, it's a bit of a buzz. So, but it's nice not to be stuck in the office all the time as well. You want to
Yeah,
get out and about and
it's important.
meet
Yeah,
people
it's
and go to
important
different
to.
places and stuff. And I don't
Yeah,
think you should limit yourself geographically. Me personally, I don't like to do that myself. So I totally agree with that. Okay,
yeah.
cool. Well, we'll move on to the next set of questions. So the market insights. So what's happening in your market right now with buyers and sellers that they need to understand? So what's happening
Look,
with
I think the market is still very much the same, both for buyers and sellers. Even
mm,
like the current situation, what's happening in the world, like fuel prices and cost of living. I think
yeah,
people are still going to always buy. People are going to always sell. Um,
yeah,
like meeting with real estate agents over time, and speaking to them and their insights. I read a little bit of a book as well, just to
mm,
understand how's what and what's what.
mm,
um, One thing I've realized, the real estate agents is there to solve problems, where they're buying or selling. So
yeah,
a person has got a problem that they can't solve, and
mm,
and I've certainly met those that are selling and buying as well, and they've always got something that they can't resolve, and us is there, and I like to think myself as a problem solver. um,
mm,
so when I speak to someone regarding they want to sell or buy, I'm thinking, how can
mm.
I help these people? How can I solve their problems?
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
but
Yeah,
having said that, but there's always going to be, doesn't matter. They said the market was gonna, the bubble was gonna burst in COVID, and
mm,
prices were just skyrocketing left, right, and center. So
yeah,
there's always gonna be the demand is gonna be there.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
like
I think you're right. I think that, the demand is sky high anyway because
yeah,
there isn't enough stock for everybody. There isn't enough houses being built for everybody that wants to buy a house. And then that
the
has a knock-on
only
effect, the rental side as well.
the only thing I've realized recently though, so when an interest rate hike happens, your borrowing power decreases as the hikes go up.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be in the near future. It'll be a contributing factor if people, and then they'll be looking at in like buyers agents will be more in demand, I reckon.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree. I think that's something that's gonna become more the norm, especially in Queensland. I think it's relatively normal in New South Wales and Victoria, but Queensland is still a bit of a new thing to most people using a buyer's agent. But as I say, as time goes on, I think it'll start to become standard that people will start to use buyer's agents anyway.
That's right. One thing I realized though, guy, is so people I've come across in Queensland, for example,
Yeah.
is what's a buyer's agent? How can you help us? What do you do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I've had
how
a lot
to
of
explain that
those.
to somebody.
So I
Yeah,
think there still needs to be a lot of education, and even the people that I work with at the real estate head office, they said to me, Queensland is still new in terms of the buyers agency thing. It's still a niche in Queensland, but in
yeah,
Sydney or Melbourne, like you would have been more okay. But in Queensland, I think there still needs to be a lot of education about what we do and how we do.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
so
um, I think doing stuff like you're doing today, like making a video explaining what a buyer's agent does,
yeah,
would go a long way as well. You know what I mean?
that's
Like,
right.
so doing a bit of marketing and advertising and having and trying to explain the process of what a buyer's agent does as their
That,
job. Because as I say, if somebody's never used one before, um,
yeah,
you have to kind of explain to how do they get paid, what do they do, how does it work, I mean, and I have these questions all the time with customers where I say, look, if we've if we've run out of stock, I'm going to recommend a buyer's agency, and the buyer's agent is going to help you, and they're going to do the research for you and try and find you something. But there's a fee involved, but
yeah,
you can discuss it with them and go from there. So I try and give them that idea of what a buyer's agent actually does if they don't really understand it. And we've
yeah,
over the last 2 years we've worked more and more with buyer's agents um, because the demand's been there for them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's where we're up to now. Like I'm dealing with quite a lot of buyer's agents all the time. So with
yes.
your I'm going to move on to the next question. So what's one misconception people might have about buying and selling in your area? That's quite a big question because your area is massive, isn't it?
Yep.
So I don't know how you can answer.
Misconception. This question is a bit where
Well,
misconception.
a misconception. Well, maybe they think that the market's going to keep going up and it's not. It's going to stay the same, or I don't know, really, to be honest. Um, Maybe there's a misconception of how easy it is to buy something. It isn't
Um,
easy to buy something anymore. It's quite difficult.
what one thing I've realized in terms of misconception is like people think that you can perform miracles. So
Yeah.
there's that one thing. Just be like, can you? That's done, and that's something that I've realized.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
it's not as easy. Like there's a lot of work that goes into like researching the suburb, researching the particular property, and if it meets their scope and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah. So
that's one thing. Yeah,
I agree. Like you are limited. If there isn't anything there for that price and you can't find anything, there isn't anything there. You
that's
can't
right. Like
magic something up if it's not that.
I'm just gonna tell them straight out. Like if it's not something that I can work with, like their brief, I'm just gonna be able to tell them. I have like
Mm.
in the past, like I haven't been scared or to come forward a bit critical. It's just it's not doable because I'm not gonna perform. I'm not gonna perform miracles, or I'm not gonna say I can do this when I can't. I cannot.
Yeah, of
That's one
course. Yeah.
thing that, yeah, that's one thing I want to pride myself on is
Mm.
be a hero and take on a brief, for example, and not being able to service that, and then you're going to be known as buyer's agent that can't pull strings. One thing I've also realized in real estate is not only are you building a brand, but you're also building your name as well. So
Mm.
people, doesn't matter which, you can change real estate agencies, and you know, people are always going to be known. I've worked with you. You've said you can do this,
Yeah.
but you couldn't, and you're just going to be taking their money for nothing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and yeah, you don't want to be known as the real estate agent that can't just over promises and under delivers. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, that's something that I'm willing, like that's a line that I'm not willing to cross.
Mm. Yeah. Next question. What trends are you seeing that most agents aren't talking about yet?
Um, what trends?
So this might be something you've noticed yourself. People haven't really said much about it.
Um, do you mind if we move to the last
Next
one,
question.
the
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
no,
new
we can
offer?
move to the next question.
Yeah.
As I say, if you haven't seen noticed any trends, you haven't noticed anything, which is
No,
fair enough.
no, it's been a while I've spent behind the computer, to be honest.
No, no, you're all good. You're all good. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to, because you're a relatively new agent, we're going to move on to the new agent questions.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what surprised you most when you first entered into the industry?
Um, uh, what surprised me?
Yeah, was
Um,
it like, say, for example, how much money you could earn, what kind of hours you had to work, or something like that? Or is it just, the kind of attitudes that you're coming across with the agents? Was there anything in particular that stood out that surprised you about the industry that maybe something that you didn't realize before you started working in the industry?
I actually didn't know what a buyer's agent was when I first wanted to enter the industry. I got my
Yeah,
registration certificate to start with,
yeah,
and I went to a careers night on the other side of town, and so they said, we're looking for 10 property management people and 10 sellers agent, and then after the presentation finished, we
mm,
got a chance to ask the agents their question, and there was a gentleman there. He said he was a buyer's agent. I said, "Oh, what's a buyer's agent?" He's like, "Oh,
yeah,
it's like the seller's agent, but you help the buyer." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I didn't even know what a buyer's agent was,
yeah,
and 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 um and a friend of mine, he's a seller's agent in Melbourne, and yeah, he recommended, like, not that I go down that route, and
mm,
because I was trying to get into the industry for a very long time and just being able didn't have the means to get my foot in the door.
mm,
And my
yeah.
partner sent me a video of a guy that's offering the buyer's agent course,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
thought, oh, I'll have a look into this, and I went and done the training. I really enjoyed what I'd done. Like, they were
mm,
really thorough with the training they offered.
yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
and yeah, that's when I came to know, like, what a buyer's agent is. Like, you actually represent the interests of the buyer. Um,
Yeah,
one thing that is actually, like, if I had the money, like, I'd use a buyer's agent as well. Like,
yeah,
if I didn't enter the industry, as I'm saying, but I
mm,
can really see the value behind the buyer's agent.
yeah,
For that peace of mind, for that extra representation, like, I can definitely see the value, and that's where I said, like, oh, that's the value that I want to bring my clients, value over money more than anything.
yeah, of
Like,
course,
we,
yeah,
we, we know, like, we can always earn money. That's doesn't matter where we go in life. Like, we're always going to make money. I know that. But the real part, like, as I was saying at the start, was, value over money.
yeah, of
Um,
course, yeah. So,
and
next question, what's been your biggest learning curve so far?
Um, Look, I've never been in business before, let alone real estate.
Mm,
So I tried to learn a little bit every day. Um,
yeah,
so I had like, there's other buyers agents that we get together every now and then and have a coffee and see, what works for each other, give advices, and, a little bit of
mm,
collaboration. Um, they
yeah,
they what he advised, like I said, a friend of mine. I do a little bit every day. So if learning a little bit every day,
mm,
um, like, for example, like, I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube and learn what, like, it's always about learning, right? So
yeah,
they're always looking at other agents and like building from their experiences. What I realized is, if you listen to people that have done their mistakes, their fair share of mistakes, you can actually learn from them and
Mm.
build on top of that. So skill on basically you're building skill on skill and you just basically just, you know,
Yeah.
um so that's my yeah, like always learning and always watching insights and yeah.
Yeah. So that leads on to the other question, really. So it's what advice would you give someone starting out today? So I think basically be ongoing learning, I suppose, with that one, wouldn't it? And,
That's yeah, that's what I would say. There is a person that I've done the course with, or in the same Facebook group, I should say. They're really daunted, like they don't know where if they've done the right choice by doing the course, and they're really stuck. Like they really should I continue? Should I just it's been a bad investment what I paid for? And I said, look, the best thing I can tell you as someone starting out as well, just do a little bit every day. Don't overwhelm yourself, and
yeah.
because there is a lot to learn. There is a lot to especially like if you're going out on your own the first time and not working under someone, it can be really daunting. Like it was for me, like it was very daunting for me to, but luckily, like I've got good mentors and whenever I get stuck, they help us out. But learning a little bit every day definitely helps, and talking to other buyers agents as well. They'll give you advice and be like, oh, how did you implement this? Or what do you do for when you come to here? So that's really helpful, and people are never turn you away when you're asking something genuine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
so
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think I remember asking you as well, like, oh, how do I do this and how do I do that?
Probably.
Never, never be too scared to learn, mate.
Yeah. So, what's one thing that you think you do differently to other new agents or new buyers agents? Like, is there
Um,
something in particular with your services might be a little bit different?
Look, my biggest thing is I want to focus on like negotiation. So that's one I think area that the value a buyer's agent can bring any one time. Like working hand
Yeah.
in hand with the seller's agent, for example. Um,
Yeah.
because I really love like what the results of a good negotiation would bring, and
Mm.
that's something that I've always had a massive knack for. Um, so I would definitely say negotiation, and like I've definitely seen like people negotiating as well, and
Mm.
and that's one thing that I think that I'd bring really really big value as a
Yeah.
buyer's agent.
With with the pricing and stuff, because if people aren't sure, I sort of tend to give people advice that are buyers agents along the lines of, well, look, if you're speaking to a client, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can charge them an upfront fee of, say, let's say $2,000 or whatever to engage your services, and then
Yeah.
charge them a percentage of, the property value at the end kind of thing. Do you have any particular thing with your pricing, or do you follow the industry standards? What would you say? Price wise, do you reckon you're competitive with other buyers agents?
Look, so what I wanted to do was keep it fair. So I've seen buyer's agent charge, $2,500 for a service. I've
Yeah,
seen I've seen charge 2%. That's the the standard industry fee.
yeah,
Um, what I would say is a fixed fee structure is definitely better in terms of peace of mind for the client. Um,
yeah,
where I would say like where I would sit is say for example, during discovery, their budget is, look, my budget is only 850,000, so I'd lock in a fee of
mm,
1.9% or 1.8, whatever it is, just whatever the situation is,
yeah,
like I said, yeah, money is not everything. But if I later down the track, if I, start, struggling finding a property for their brief, I'd say, look, we might have to raise the expectation a little bit.
Mm.
I wouldn't charge anything extra for the raising. But say I'll find a property for 800,000, but I've locked in a fee at 850,000.
Yeah,
I'd drop the fee down to what's gonna for the $800,000 mark.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
as a fee, yeah.
Now
Make
well,
sure
that's
they're
good.
getting yeah, make
Getting the
sure they're
value for money.
getting the value. And if
No,
you
that's
like,
good.
yeah, sorry, guy. What I've realized is if you charge a lot less than what the industry is or what the other buyer's agent is, you're basically giving them a bad name as well, because
Yeah,
a lot of
true.
work that goes into researching. If you got staff, you're paying staff, you're paying wages, like going out there, meeting
Mm.
with people. I think that takes a lot of time
Yeah,
and
yeah,
preparing
definitely.
and insights. Software's a big massive expense. Like
Oh
one
yeah.
software like $2,500 a year, for example.
Yeah, there's
And
lots of different subscriptions that you have to have, and you can't really do your job without them. Like, things like RP data and things like that, where you've got to have them, and you can't
that's
sort
right.
of do your job without them. So yeah.
My
Um,
uncle used to say a mechanic is only as good as his tools. So
yeah,
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 you
you've
need
got
to
to
have
have the
those
right
tools.
stuff.
That's right. You just don't want to be relying
Yeah,
on generic stuff.
yeah,
And,
cool.
and
Well,
yeah,
we're running out of time now. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So what I'll do, I'll wrap it up now. Abdul, thanks very much for coming on the podcast today and everything, mate. I really
no
enjoyed
worries.
it.
Thank you,
I
guys.
think we've covered, I think we've covered everything we need to. We've got an idea of, you know, um, you're new into the industry, but you're not that new into the industry. You understand the process because you bought and sold properties yourself anyway, and you've moved to Queensland, and that's what you're specialising in doing now. So I think we've covered the business, and people know how to find you now because we've put your website up there. So they watch the podcast, they can find your phone number and your email and everything else, and look you up. So
Yeah,
that's good. So yeah, so I want to thank you again for coming on, mate. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. It's nice to catch up with you again, and
thank you for
we'll
having me.
hopefully again soon. I'll stop it there. Thanks again, mate. Cheers.
No worries.